Well, hi there, I'm Noah Bradley. This is Handmade House TV, and on this week's episode I'm going to share with you a bit my opinion on log cabin jigs, on using jigs and patterns in order to create the corner notches of our log cabin. So stay tuned. Well, alright, today we're going to talk about log cabin jigs. A device that is more or less a pattern to help us in the creation of the notches of our log cabin. And I recently got an email from an individual, and it sounds like they're contemplating the idea of making all of their logs identical in size, cutting them 6 inches thick and 8 inches high, and then wondering what my opinion of using jigs in the corners. And to go down this path where you're creating every one of your logs into timbers, into large pieces of lumber, and then using a jig in order to create so that each notch is exactly like the other is a surefire way to create a manufactured looking log cabin. And that's not what we want in a handmade house. We want to bring about the beauty of nature, of hand craftsmanship, of uniqueness in the creation of our log home. So we don't want to make all of our logs identical to one or the other. And so how do we do that? We follow the traditional method of log construction, whereas we do cut the thickness of our logs consistently thick, the inside and outside faces of the logs, but we leave the tops and the bottoms of the logs with their natural rounded contours. It makes for a more attractive log cabin, and a more visually appealing log cabin, and actually a longer lasting and better functional, better use of our materials by leaving so that each of our logs is different. It looks natural, like we are. We're all different from each other. Or when you walk in the woods, each tree is different from each other. We want to celebrate the differences. We don't want to end up with a manufactured looking home. We want a natural home. And the same goes true with our notches. And that is that there's a certain intimidation level in creating a notch if you've never created one before, and there's certain ease of maybe I can just use a pattern in order to do it, but the end result is your corners of your log cabin end up looking like a zipper rather than a handcrafted home. And creating notches are a lot easier than what you think. I've demonstrated some of that here on my YouTube channel, here Handmade House TV, but also I go into depth with regard to it in the Log Cabin Academy, which please encourage you to sign up for that. Come on over to Handmade Houses and look into it. If you want a log cabin, you really want the Log Cabin Academy. You don't want to miss out on what decades of building log cabins experience wrapped into a package and presented for you. You want to seize the opportunity. So creating a notch is not complicated. It's easy, it's fun, it's enjoyable. You'll be able to do it. In the Log Cabin Academy, I demonstrate to you the idea of building a small log, outbuilding a small log shed, and in order to get comfortable with the idea of creating notches and of moving logs around and of assembling it together, and by the time you get done with it, you realize a log cabin jig is a joke. They don't save you any time. That you end up with an inferior product, a less appealing a product, a more manufactured looking product, and almost all of the time you have to end up reworking those notches anyway. It's not like you follow the pattern and you end up with a perfect finished product. You still have to fuss with it a bit, just like you do when you handcraft a notch. So please bypass the idea of using a jig. Professionals who build log cabins, our forefathers, all of the log cabins, all of the historic log cabins you see, not a single one of them was ever built using a jig. Don't use a jig. Jigs are great for building dovetail drawers for your kitchen, but not for building your log cabin. Avoid the jig. Stick to the plan. Stick to the program. Enjoy the creation of the notches in the corner. Free will it. It's going to look a whole lot better if you do that. Come on over to Handmade Houses, take a look at some of the log cabins that I built that are featured there. We have over 1,000 free photographs for you to browse through and explore what it is, but please avoid the jigs. And that's it for this week. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you here next week on Handmade House TV. Bye now. You take care. Come in with our mighty 2x4. We will use these short 2x4s repeatedly through the process for every log that we set into place. This will be a pattern that we will do. We will create the top of the dovetail notch.